Hello tool groupies. Today we're changing these back brake pads here on this 07 Ford E150. 7/8 socket will pull your lug nuts off. We've got a 7/8 here. I got my 3/4 inch Gearwrench breaker bar that I use usually to break these things loose with. You've got these two 13mm slide bolts right here that you need to get out, and it will pull this caliper loose and change your brakes. I got my little roto ratchet here by Pittsburgh we're going to use. I got me a deep weld socket. I like using 6-point to keep from rounding anything off. I'm on the driver's side or passenger side, so this is going up to take this off. Here's a good use for these little roto ratchets. You take these two little slide bolts here loose, one up top and then the one right down here at the bottom. You just kind of feel around, get on it, loosen both of those up. Once they're loose, you just finish unscrewing them by hand and pull them out. Now these should have a little bit of grease on them because of what their job is for, and if they don't, then that could create potential problems in the future. You know, rust, salt, corrosion. It'll cause it to expand, it'll cause them to seize up. When that happens, you can't get these loose, they'll break off. You know, then you're in for a world of trouble, because sometimes you'll end up having to take a torch and heat these things up, or you have to drill them, tap them. Sometimes you just have to buy a whole new piece and replace it. I mean, it's just better to grease these things every time you change your brakes. Now, a lot of people might use screwdrivers. You can get yourself a little pry bar here. They got some decent ones at a variety of different stores, including Wally World. Wally World's actually got some decent ones by Hyper Tough, made in the USA. And then you just kind of wiggle and pry on this thing until it pops out here. But when you're doing that, make sure that these slide pins are pulled out so they don't grip nothing. Pull them out. Make sure they're moving. That way they'll go straight back whenever you're prying on it. You have to run it in behind here. Jiggle it back and forth, up and down. It'll kind of break it loose a little bit too. You can see here, prying it right there from the bottom. Got me a good little piece started. Now you don't want this just to fall off, hit the ground, because it's going to kink this hose up back here. You don't want that. You want to be able to pull it off with ease, be able to set it down somewhere flat like on top of your jack there, or take you a block tire, something, set that on. And this one on the passenger side will come off at the bottom first. The driver's side will come off at the top first. And that's because of these little hooks right here that help guide this caliper into place and hold it there whenever you're assembling everything. We'll just lay that down here out of the way. And then take your screwdriver sometimes, or whatever you're prying with. These brakes should come right off. As you can see right here, this has still got some pretty decent pad on it. We'll pull the inside off. Now, the inside's not metal to metal, but it is wore down pretty good. The caliper could be, you know, pulling everything in and pushing it out uneven. Now, if these things are working like brand new calipers, then it'll wear evenly throughout the wear of the pad. I mean, that is a pretty substantial difference on this, you know, because it's wearing more on the inside, so these things might be sticking just a little bit. We got the CarQuest Wherever Gold GNAD 802 for this. And we got some new hardware here. So we're going to go ahead and change the old hardware, which is these little pieces right here. A lot of people might leave them in there, but if they come with the brakes, why not go ahead and change them? Now we got our new hardware in place. Make sure you put them in the right locations. They go here and here. Basically helps hold and guide that brake caliper when you reinstall it. We're going to take us a little dip of grease here, and we're going to put it right on there. It'll help guide those new brake pads. Take it, dip it, you know, just lightly rub it across through there. It ain't going to hurt it any. You see, I'm going to go ahead and put this one in. Went in nice and smooth. I'm going to do the same to the outside here. Now what you want to do is take these, as you can see here. They're going to go in kind of like an angle. I put the bottom ones in first to make sure they're in that little groove right there. As you can see, guide it inward, push down, and then it guides right on there. And then make sure they're both pushed together nice and tight. There we go. Now it's ready for the caliper. Now you're going to come down here to your caliper. Here's where your cap's going to be at. You're going to pull it off, or it's going to be a 3/8 plug. Lefty, loosey, righty-tighty. Make sure you break this thing loose before you start trying to get your caliper out of the way. That way you know that's done, ready, good to go when you start pushing them pistons back in place. If at all possible, using one of these Lyle brake spreaders is probably going to be the best and fastest thing for you to do. You can check out the tool review in the description box below. Unfortunately, the Lyle brake spreader failed me again. It is not holding up as good as it should. So I'm going to use old school C-clamp and do it without a problem. Now here's how you basically do with a C-clamp. You put your old brake in there, and then you're going to have to twist it one side, then the other back and forth, unless you have two different clamps. Then you can do it that way, run them both in at the same time. But you got to crack open that bleeder plug, twist it in, shut the bleeder plug, and then get it ready to twist some more. You know, open it up every single time that you go to twist it in. It'll push that fluid out. Now afterwards, your best bet is just to bleed the system, check the system, get it over with, and it'll be good to go. So this should be just simple stuff if you got the right tools. Note to self too, these Pittsburgh C-clamps ain't worth a... You get the point. So sometimes you'll have problems, especially if the pistons are being a little bit of a pain in the ass. The Lyle wouldn't do it. It was bending my Lyle a little bit. You know, generally that means that the caliper itself is probably going to need replaced sometime very, very soon. You know, but that's up to the customer. All I can do is tell them what they need, and they can either buy it or not buy it, leave it as is, and then pay me to do this again next time. But for the purpose of the video, don't buy cheap-ass Harbor Freight clamps. They ain't worth pissing on. Now, this one is like a 1960s USA-made adjustable, and it fixed all my problems. Amen to that. Now, whenever we go to install this, you're going to take that little hook part right here, and you're going to make sure that it goes up right here, top side first, then the bottom. Make sure that these little slides here is greased real good. You can pull this little rubber seal off of it and put some grease back inside there and push it back in place. Slide it back and forth, make sure it moves back and forth real good, because if not, and it seizes up, it's going to cause you all kinds of problems. Once that's done, get them ready and then mount them up. Anyhow, whenever I got this top one in here, right there, make sure that's in place, and it is very tedious. You have to have it in there perfect. And I mean perfect. You have to have the pistons all the way back. You have to have your slides all the way back. You have to have everything in there just right when you get it in place to get all this stuff working good. And, you know, afterwards, make sure everything's good, everything's tightened up. And then, if you go to work on it again the next time, you know what you're working with. You know it's going to get done right. That's the difference in working on other people's vehicles who don't get routine maintenance and don't service vehicles right. And that's exactly why mechanics charge what we do to do these jobs, because people fail to do the routine maintenance on stuff, and then it becomes a problem later on down the road that we got to deal with. And make sure that your bleeder plug and everything's nice and tight. Make sure if you do have one of these little caps, you put this cap back on. And then you're going to want to go check your brake fluid along the way. Have somebody else check it while you're doing this. Matter of fact, it'd be easier to have someone help you bleed this. If you have to bleed it by yourself, well, I'll have a video for that sometime soon. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and continue to make repairs great again. I hope you enjoyed the videos. But you know, I do this so it shows people real world scenarios with real world tools, things that I use. If you're one of the fortunate people who are taking care of your vehicles when you get them, tell you what, this will be an easy job. All you got to do is make sure that you change your brakes when you're supposed to, that you lube things when you're supposed to, keep everything oiled up as you're supposed to. And this job is relatively easy. All you got to do is pull these tires off, jack it up, take yourself 13mm bolts right there out, a little bit of grease, everything back on, put it all back together. Add you a little tiny bit of brake fluid most of the time, and then you're good to go after about 20 or 30 minutes and save you all kinds of money. So hopefully this helps. Check out some of the tool review links in the description box below and other stuff, and I'll see you next time.